Now, whenever I've talked about comic books, superheroes, all of this stuff, I have tried to make it very clear that I can't know everything. I try to respect the heart of who I believe these characters are through various interpretations, various writers, and continuities, but at the end of the day, that's my goal, right? Is to talk about characters that I enjoy, that have changed my life, that someday I wouldn't even mind writing for, who matter to me. And something I love about Marvel Rivals in particular is it truly does feel like when the game's writers and when the game's creators and directors go into the process of portraying a character or an era of Marvel Comics or even a costume from a movie, while, there might be hits or misses here or there, it does always feel like their goal is to try to preserve the heart of and the spirit behind and respect the comics, respect the source material. Yeah, there's some changes. Obviously, you have things like Emma Frost, in the recent season 2 being a tank. That can definitely fit who Emma is, but then, changing her body a little bit to make her a little bigger to stand out from these other characters. I personally think it's cool. I can also see the argument of, hey, I would like a little bit more comic accuracy there. That's fine too. But in general, there's nothing there that disrespects who Emma Frost is, right? And with the Krakoa era and map, and essentially season 2 of Marvel Rivals arriving when I record this, actually a day or two prior to me recording this, it's become very apparent to me that the goal of Marvel Rivals and the team behind it is to deliver an experience that does continue to respect these characters and the comic book source material. Something that, unfortunately, I think a lot of movies over the years have missed. A lot of movies have been embarrassed of being superhero or of being connected to comic books. Thinking back to, as much as I love them, Fox's X-Men, where you had people like David Hayter who had to fight in the writer's room to say, like, hey, these are based off of comic books. People care about this. I even made a video previously talking about how Fox wanted to make Wolverine American instead of Canadian, ignoring his source material, and how David Hayter basically in the writing room had to fight against that. You have all these corporations and companies who I think have swooped in and swarmed in over these pop culture icons like comic book characters, anime and manga characters, etc. Modern day fantasy. And what they've done is they've commercialized it further. They've wanted to make it their own thing entirely, and they've wanted to ignore or push away from source material that they deem things like problematic or annoying or uncool or nerdy. And Marvel Rivals doesn't do that. And I truly, truly enjoy it. So I want to take a few minutes to take a look at that today. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe for more content. I appreciate you very much. Very quick shout out here to thank my members. I did want to say that we are approaching quite a few videos on the channel membership here. We're getting close to 60 at any tier, and the upper tier above that, the lower tier, is $2.99 a month, US dollars, so $3, less than half a cup of coffee at this point at somewhere. There is 50 something videos there that are exclusive, and then on the membership tier after that, the Multiversal Mon Ami, there is something like 75 or 76 exclusive videos and growing. So huge thank you to those of you who have supported. And if you are interested in that, you can hit the join button down below this video or check out our Patreon, where there's a lot of great stuff too. Now, I do want to ask you a question of the day with this video, which is, what is your favorite thing or character or whatever about Marvel Rivals? Maybe your favorite thing is how they interpret the characters. Maybe it's the art style. Maybe it's how they've reinterpreted a character to make you interested in them. Let me know. Now, I started noticing this attention to the source material when I started looking through the costumes in Marvel Rivals and seeing that they were actually giving credit to where these comic book costumes first appeared. Now, obviously, they're going to make some up, right? I mean, it's a game, and they should be able to have their own creative spin on this. The Marvel Rivals universe, that canon, it's its own canon. It's not the 616 Comics canon. It's not either Ultimate Comic Book canon. It's nothing like that. It's just their continuity. And yet, despite that, they don't take that as a excuse to ignore, push past, or disrespect where these things have come from. even when I disagree with the decision that they make, like I say, oh, I'm not really a big fan of that costume or how it was interpreted, I can still tell that there was a goal to interpret something from page all the way down to the screen, you know, to take it from that comic and to now put it on an interactive medium. Something like the Venom Space Knight costume, for example. I really, really prefer the era of Venom Space Knight where it's just, that's the title of the comic, it's a little more bluish, it's a little less mechanical looking, and that's the suit I wish had been put in the game, right? That's where I would say maybe my vision for that character would differ from the people who did it. But I can still tell that the Venom Space Knight suit in the game actually harkens back to the Guardians of the Galaxy appearance of her said suit, and it makes sense. Would I have preferred the other? Yeah, but I'm fine with what we got. And that's something that I think is, I don't know, not common. I really don't think it's common. I look at games like Marvel's Spider-Man 2, which, no hate to people who love the game, I still think it's good. But I look at some of the stuff that they changed and some of the stuff that they went around, like cutting the symbiote saga short, trying to very quickly get to Harry as Venom and ignoring Eddie Brock. I look at stuff like that, and then I look at something like Iron Fist in Marvel Rivals. Now, I personally would have preferred that we got Danny Rand, and yet there are several voice lines in the game that refer to Danny and respect his version of the character while also saying, hey, look, also there's this other version of the character. Would I have preferred Danny over that because that's the Iron Fist I grew up with? Yeah, I would have preferred that. But it doesn't feel like they're disrespecting Iron Fist. Now, I might be the only person who would care about someone disrespecting Iron Fist because I know most of the exposure to that character in pop culture is from the MCU or Marvel television series on Netflix that most people didn't enjoy, but I still think it's about the principle of it. It's about the fact that they don't look at these characters and just see them as an entirely disposable character with no past, future, history, or present. They look at them as a character that does have a rich source of all those things, and then they ask how they interpret it into their game. Even something like Venom's newer hyper orange costume, very clearly to me, seems like it's inspired from the old Marvel vs. Capcom games. And I love that about it. You know, they're able to draw from the past of these characters, draw from a massive roster of Marvel characters, and incorporate them into a game that has remained fun. A game that, you know, is it perfect? No, nothing is. I don't like parts of the community on this game. I think some people take it way too seriously. I don't like some of the competitive scene around this game. I don't agree with some decisions. You know, like sometimes they'll make a balancing choice and I think, why? Like nerfing Magneto. I almost never encounter a good Magneto. Does he need a nerf? I'll encounter something like that and I'll think, I don't agree with that. But I never get the opinion that any of these choices or decisions are intentionally made as a slight of or disrespect to the character, nor do I get the opinion or impression that any of these decisions are made because they don't care. I just don't ever get that impression from this game. And I wish that that's something I could say of other modern superhero games. Many of them I don't feel that love and passion for. I don't feel that respect to the source material and the characters. It's just something that had me thinking because of the trailer with the Hellfire Gala and the Krakoan era of, you know, the X-Men and the mutants, and then playing a couple matches, watching my wife Jill play a couple matches actually with, you know, Nate, because he was over here too, and I was sitting in the room doing something, they were playing the game, and just watching some of the voice lines and interactions with Emma Frost and some of the other characters, and seeing some of the hidden background lore, and seeing the constant comic book unlocks where you're unlocking art that fills out these comics. I can't think of many superhero games that felt as much like a comic book superhero game since maybe Batman Arkham City, or even before that, something like the PlayStation 2 era Punisher, the PS1 era Spider-Man games, you know, where they are just unabashedly unashamed of being related to comic books. To them, that's not a negative. I would love to see more of that vibe, you know, more of that general treatment of these characters going forward from other games. So I'm interested to hear what you think in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, you want to leave a like, subscribe, I appreciate that very, very much. I'm interested to see your comments, your answers to the question of the day. By the way, again, huge thank you to our members. Join button is down there if you're interested. There was a lot of support on my last video. I wasn't really expecting it, so that meant a lot to me. Thank you for that. And I did want to say before we head out, we do have other ways to support the channel, like our Fortnite code, which is DJAY123. Still hoping that Marvel Rivals eventually gets creator codes. That'd be pretty cool, because there's way too many costumes that I like in that game. I try not to be big microtransaction guy, but I'm telling you, Fortnite and Marvel Rivals, they know how to get me. So hopefully that happens at some point. But also, we do have our own store, cosmobunny.shop, where we sell coasters, keychains, trays, and more from recycled comic books, from paper, from magazines, like I said, comics, pamphlets, all kinds of stuff. We do not print images. We take pages and paper from existing books that are damaged. What we do is we repurpose them transformatively to use them as a part of a resin piece to save some of that artistic history and paper, while also recycling the rest and keeping it out of a landfill. Discount code DJAY123 will get you 10% off your first purchase over there. I hope you have a fantastic day, and as always, everyone, stay shui.